Well, let's stay in the United States. You'd think legislation to increase penalties for people soliciting minors for prostitution would be a no-brainer. I mean, no one would agree that behaviour should go on. If someone tries to do that, jail them for the longest time. At the moment in California, if you solicit a minor for prostitution, it's 2 days jail, 1 year maximum, and a $10,000 fine. So the Republicans want to increase the penalties to 4 years jail and a $25,000 fine. And yet that is being opposed by LGBTQ activists who claim that upping the severity of fines for those who solicit minors for prostitution would disproportionately affect the LGBTQ community. Have a listen to this.
We are particularly concerned that the harsher penalties proposed in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, especially members of the LGBTQ community, who already suffer from systematic biases within the criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to sexually based offenses. Studies have shown that LGBTQ people, particularly gay and transgendered individuals, are more likely to be charged with sex offenses compared to their heterosexual counterparts. For instance, LGBTQ individuals are 9 times more likely to be charged with sodomy. Measures like SB 1414 lead to higher rates of incarceration, longer sentences, and increased difficulties in finding housing and employment.
Liz, I listened to that and I simply could not believe what I was hearing. I mean, how does anyone make sense of an argument like that?
I'm sure the LGBTIQ community are saying, please stop talking on our behalf. That is the opposite of standing up for them. I mean, they're literally pointing the finger at this community saying, if you are going to punish people for having sex with minors, then you're disproportionately punishing people belonging to the LGBTIQ community. If that doesn't make you just absolutely incredulous, and yet here's the senator who tried to bring this bill. There were amendments passed. Her name is Senator Grove. She was trying to include 16 and 17-year-olds in this bill because, of course, obviously, officially, they too are minors. Well, it was a real bun fight to try and get this across the line, and she wasn't quite successful. Here she is explaining.
Who would have thought in the state of California it'd be this hard or this difficult to protect minors, 17 and below, from men that purchase them for sex? Take a look at this. Today in the Public Safety Committee, they allowed us to charge a wobbler instead of a full felony for those that are 15 and below. It can be charged as a felony or a misdemeanor, but it also excluded 16 and 17-year-olds from those provisions. The 16 and 17-year-olds now have to prove 2 crimes. They were bought and sold, trafficked into the industry, and that's the only way you can go after the perpetrator who initiated this whole process by negotiating to buy them for sex in the first place. It shouldn't be that difficult. That's it. People that buy children for sex in the state of California should go to prison.
It is just...
Can't really add to that. It should be that straightforward. The prosecutors in California have already come out saying, well, given those are the preconditions of actually prosecuting or having a chance of prosecuting someone who's soliciting sex from the 16, 17-year-olds, it's going to be almost impossible to prosecute. You've just created too many loops for us to jump through in order to bring a case against any of the people who are committing that crime. It just beggars belief.
It is just
even a controversial bill.
It is just staggering, and just a bit of PR advice to the Californian LGBTQIA+ community, saying that banning people from paying for underage sex is going to disproportionately affect your community does not help your cause. That does not. That's not a good line. That's not a good hill to die on. That's not a good. I would just keep that out of the media release.
And then they started reeling off the stats to prove it.
I know, but
it got worse.
It just does my head in when the left does this. You wouldn't believe it, but North America appears to be a hotbed, no pun intended, for these sorts of weird, strange grey areas.